Long Beach Unfiltered. I'm your host, Franklin. In this podcast series, we take you straight to the Long Beach native voice for clarity and authenticity. Through the lens of natives' voices, Long Beach Unfiltered is on a quest to understand the cultural roots that took shape in Long Beach before the star athletes, the hip-hop legends, the Crip culture became the lasting symbols on Long Beach mainstream persona. So if you're like me and you're fascinated to know more about the origins of Black Long Beach, how it was shaped by the civil rights movement, the Black Panthers, youth sports, the Black church, the Black mosque, then you'll definitely want to like, subscribe, and follow Long Beach Unfiltered. Now that you're plugged in, listen, it's my esteemed pleasure to welcome our very first guest to kick off this series. His name is Mark Anthony Hall. Welcome to the podcast, Mark.
My pleasure, my brother. My pleasure.
Look, we want to dive right into this. You know, for me, your story, you represent a tipping point in Long Beach. And I say that because your boyhood witnessed several years before the turn of the end of the era of the civil rights movement. But then also your teenage years, the birth of the Insane Crips happens when you're a teenager. And so when I'm thinking about that, you know, I want to know, what was Long Beach like when you're growing up in the late 60s, early 70s?
Oh, it was beautiful. We didn't know we was poor. It was every essence of a community. We growed up born milk, watching over each other, holding hands when we go to school, and very, very religious in our neighborhood. Eastside Long Beach was a unique place because all our grandmothers and cousins and uncles and daddies migrated to East Long Beach and Long Beach.
And that's like during the Great Migration. They're coming from the South, and your people came from what part?
Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, just about everywhere from back south, like most people that landed East Long Beach.
So, Mark, I know you spent nearly 40 years in prison. And when you look at the original guys who started the Insane Crips, you probably served one of the longest sentences up to now. You were out like what?
18 months, 17 months.
You've been out 18 months.
Yeah.
When you came back home to Long Beach, did you remember the city?
No, I didn't. In fact, I was heartbroken. As we get closer and closer, I wasn't seeing the predominantly Black population that I was used to. And we went to the first store right there on 19th Street. And wow, it was Black owned, but no longer. So I was kind of like in the Matrix, like, wow, this is new. This is new.
So now, what year were you born?
1964.
So you were born in 1964 and born and raised on the east side of Long Beach. One of the most intriguing things about your story for me is the context of where it happens. You said you were born in 1964. This is the same year that Dr. King would win the Nobel Peace Prize. This is the same year he'd be in there with JFK signing the Civil Rights Act. And this is sort of the context that you're born into. You took me to where you were born. We have a clip. Solomon's going to play it. Okay. And this is you. Now, what street was this?
Orange, 20th and Orange.
20th and Orange.
1411
born
East
right here,
Street.
came from the hospital when I was a baby. This where I came to 14th and 11th East 20th Street. And it was the first address when I was all the way up to first, second grade that we had to remember. And this whole block here was Black here, Black families and everything. And on this side right here was all grass. This where the legendary Polly Pop Warner started, right in this location, but it was all grass and it used to be called Orange Field. It used to be called Orange Field with a legendary Rough Riders, Vidors, Patriots, Wildcats, all practice right here. This where it started right here on this piece of land right here, which was called Orange Field. You had to come to this field to make the team. Legends was made on this property right here, you know, on 20th and Orange. This brings back a lot of memories.
So your parents take you home from Long Beach Memorial Hospital. that was the first apartment you guys live in.
Yes,
And
sir.
right across the street is where Polly Pop Warner played.
Yes, sir.
Now, we can't even really talk about Long Beach without talking about football. And from our discussions, I just get the sense that in Long Beach, football was like Sparta. And what I mean by that is, from young kids, you all were trained to be just fearless athletes. What was it like playing Polly Pop Warner when you were a kid? What were those teams?
Outside of church, it was the biggest thing, and it was a religion, and they just instilled in us excellence, winning. Don't let nobody outdo you. No matter where you're from, y'all the best. And we just gravitated towards it because it gave us a sense of pride and community. See, back then, everybody was involved in it. Our mamas, the aunties, people that was making mischief, know not to come disturb the movement, which it was Polly Pop Warner, and it really uplifted our community.
So now, what were some of the names of the teams with Pop Warner? You've talked about with me the Wildcats.
The great Rough Rider. Everybody know you a Rough Rider, you ain't finna do no losing. And it all start right there. But
the Rough Riders, at one point, they had like a 2 or 3 year winning streak?
Oh, no, we was 52-1.
52-1.
Yes, sir. I was on all the greatest Rough Rider teams they ever had. Yes, sir. And then we had the Vidars. That's Mr. Gwynn. You might know his son that played baseball named Tony Gwynn, and Mr. Williams, and all them. They instilled excellence too for the Vidars. And then we went on to the Patriots. And then my dad's team, he had all the thugs, all the gangsters on his team. It was called the Wildcats.
The Wildcats.
Yes, sir. And his name was Coach Mack.
So Coach Mack was your dad.
Yes, sir.
And he was coach for the Wildcats.
Yes, sir.
We have a clip of your dad and the team. I think this year you were the team captain, right?
Oh, that's a Vidar right there.
That's a Vidar there.
That's the second picture to the left. That's Mr. Gwynn right there.
And now I'm looking at your mom. She's with the cheerleaders.
Yeah, the Rough Rider.
When I look at these pictures, what I'm seeing is the building blocks.
Yes, sir.
Of a strong Black community, because your mom's a coach, your dad's a coach, right? So now you're seeing you got family. Then you also have that parental influence and the maternal influence.
Yes, sir.
And you have so many children there,
Yes, sir. Like I said, that's where all the beginning and love come from. When you see people that moved away, that used to live on the east side, this is why the passion was so strong, because we was a close-knit community.
You got people in San Bernardino that will come to a cookout in Long Beach, and they've moved out for like 10, 15 years.
Right. We had that pride. We had that pride through the upbringing, through getting the first discipline. Because, to be able to be on the football team, you had to be disciplined and trained, and they instilled that brotherhood from the Rough Riders.
But you mentioned being poor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys were winning, you were winning championships, so I'm assuming you had some of the best equipment, you had
no,
the best
that's
uniforms.
Right there. We had the worstest uniforms, but it was the best because our families and the coaches and the cheerleader moms and everybody pitched in, aluminum cans, bid whiz parties, just to get the fabric to get it sewn. See, we had secondhand stuff.
Y'all were making your own uniforms, and they were secondhand.
Oh, yeah. My mother and them sold all their cheerleading outfits. We had the cheapest cliques, but we had the best athletes. My dad and all the football coaches used to spray their own helmets, while other white kids go get the top-notch stuff. But once again, that made us more stronger and better.
One of the things you told our producers is that there was a difference between when two Black teams would play one another at Poly versus when a white team would play a Black team. And one of the differences were the police presence, and there would be an ambulance presence when you would play Lakewood. But if it's a Black versus a Black team, those resources wouldn't be there.
Right.
Walk me through that. What did that feel like when you're playing these teams that the city felt segregated? What did it feel like as a kid?
But it made us fight and play harder. We knowing the difference as kids, But once again, white people was coming to the area that was hostile towards them too. And they had a lot of pride too. They just didn't have the best athletes or the best coaches. They might have the best uniform, but they didn't have the best players and coaches. So I can't even imagine the East Side without Potty Pop Warner, but first and foremost without churches and the mosque. I couldn't even imagine that. It just instilled so much pride in our culture as a people, to win, to come together and fight together. That's the best unity that we had coming up through Potty Pop Warner, school, church, and the mosque.
So you got the sports, you got the youth. I want to talk about, too, the businesses. You go through East and West Long Beach now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a Black-owned business. Now, we're filming right now in one of the few Black-owned businesses in Long Beach. But you'd be hard-pressed to find that today. When you were growing up, was it any different?
Oh, it was a lot different. All the barbershops, the hair salons, the mortuaries, the dairies, and record shops was all Black-owned. Landlords, we just had a grip on it. We was proud of the liquor store called Hall's Liquor. I believe that's before Eddie's, right up out the hood. We was proud about so many things. Neptune Barbecue, the Gamma Shacks. You just seen so many things that was Black-owned.
And you said there was one family that had a few businesses. They had a muffler shop. They had an ice
that's
cream
the Fuller
parlor.
family. The Fuller family. They was well-to-do, and they was very business-minded even back then.
And there was another family you said that had a construction business.
Oh, the Crooms. They people had construction business. And, so you had all that exposed at an early age. So on the East Side, you could do anything you want to do. You could go left, right, up, down. Somebody there to give you the best advice and leading by example.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, that's powerful for me. Now, you took me to the Black business in Long Beach that meant a lot to you, and the dairy.
Oh, yeah. Everybody know the chili cheese fries. And we couldn't wait to get out of church to go get the candy. They didn't care if you got a dime. You're going to leave something with something.
You're going to leave with something.
Yeah.
So now the dairy was sort of a drive-through, right?
Right, a drive-through, or ride your bicycle. But we was proud of the dairy. Because like I say, it was Black-owned. And they always made sure how much money you have, you could buy something.
You took me on a field trip to the dairy. I want us to play that clip. What's special about the dairy when you were growing up? What made it like a part of the fabric of this community?
Well, we was proud of the fact that it was Black-owned. And as kids, this had the best candy and the cheapest candy and the best ice cream right here, and it was affordable. So after church, coming from King Park, we always came to the dairy right here. And then when we got older, we always used to come right here at the record shop right there. I forget the actual name of it, but we'd go to the archives and get it. And it used to be a Black-owned record shop right there on the corner of 20th and Martin Luther King.
Now, what's fascinating, too, is that the dairy is really close to the neighborhood church that you grew up in.
Yes, sir.
And Sunday mornings, you all are walking to the church.
Yes, sir.
What church you grew up in?
Well, it's called Bethel now, but I grew up in St. Vestal.
St. Vestal.
Yeah, the church across the street from the dairy. And everybody know what you're talking about. Yeah, we used to call it St. Vestal.
What was special about St. Vestal? What made it any different than any other Black churches in the community?
Positive influence by the people there. They was teaching us how to read, how to study, how to read the Bible, how to positive reinforcements. I can't imagine not going. If you didn't have nothing, you could come there, they're going to feed you. Easter egg hunts and Christmas, the gospel choirs, youth choirs. It was real progressive, real active little church right there, but it was a powerhouse.
Now, if you're talking about church, the choir's got to be good.
Oh,
now,
absolutely.
Who had the best choir in Long Beach? Was St. Vestal?
Hands
was it
down,
up there?
St. Vestal.
Really?
Yeah, because we had one of the most legendary singers from back in the day was Thelma Houston. And she brought...
Wait, pause.
Mm-hmm.
Thelma Houston.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
was that St. Vestal?
And then Kim sang just like her, and she had come in there and drop some songs, so we had to keep the bar up. And then she came back and helped start something called a Section Connection. They went all around the world, and majority of the people in that group was from that church. So yeah, it was a powerhouse church. Revivals, St. Vessel was gonna show up and show out.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Yes, sir.
And what I notice in Long Beach now is that of the Black-owned properties left in the city, really the churches have the largest properties still left.
Yes.
Because church has to have a parking lot.
Exactly.
And Saint Vestal, which is now Saint Bethel. Let's take a look. You took me on a trip there too. Let's see if we can't check out that.
Matter of
clip.
fact, let's show the original sign when I went to this church. They kept something to show you right here, St. Vestal. See, I was coming here when it was St. Vestal Church. Oh, this church was like a beacon in the neighborhood. So many people came to this church, famous people, and one by the name of Thelma Houston, Johnny Nash, who played basketball, and a whole host of people. So this church was really loved right here. And my mama herself helped put like 500 people through this church. She went to this church for like 57, 60 years right here when they came back from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The rapper, the twins, stayed right here, Johnny Nash. They had mothers that was twins. I was right here next door. So this area, this church and this little area used to be sacred ground right here. They did so much the upliftment of the Black community. They fed us, put Easter programs for us, Christmas program, you name it. This church was providing it from right here.
Now, what I love walking around Long Beach with you is that no matter where we are, almost somebody's gonna come up and be like, "That Roc Head? How is it?" And when that happens, it gives me the sense that Long Beach must to have one point have been like a small town in the city.
Yes, sir. It's not cliche. It take a village to raise. We actually lived it. We actually lived it. We knew even the bombs' names. You know, I believe on some other podcasts, they had mentioned that. His name was Wine Old Willie. We loved him. So that's how close-knit we was. It wasn't too much black-on-black crime going on around there because somebody gonna know you. So it was just a strong sense of every word of community.
I mean, when you say that, it's true. We're walking down 20th, and you were showing me the original house where the Black Panthers were.
Yes,
And
sir.
we run into someone who is like, yeah, well, it was right here.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know that in Long Beach, there were the Black Panthers, that Angela Davis and Huey Newton were in Long Beach making an impact. Take me back to you walking down that street and seeing Black Panthers. What was that like?
This is real militant area right here called the Pink House, which the Black Panthers used to own right here.
Did you ever go inside as a kid, or you just heard about it?
Well, always they'll stop us right here and talk to us and everything, give us incense, give us books. They had African shields and African emblems all right here, called the House of David. Called the House of David from Black Panthers.
And that's the headquarters. Used to be in there a long time ago. You know, back in the days, and that's in '69.
So you could walk down this street and you would see Black Panthers.
Yeah,
And this was the headquarters down there.
that was the headquarters. You know, yeah, because Angela Davis used to be there and Huey Newton.
So they really made an imprint on a lot of people growing up.
And I mean, is it like what we see in movies or, were they teaching people in Long Beach karate?
Absolutely. At the park, you could go up there, and one of my favorite persons that taught me how to fight in karate, he was a gator, Chuck. He was our Jim Kelly, So yeah, they always instilled in protect yourself, defend yourself, and it just was a beautiful situation.
Wow.
And the name of the place was the House of David, the Pink House or the House of David right there. We used to call that street California.
Why is that?
Well, that was the original name. When we grew up, it wasn't called Martin Luther King. It was called California.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you got the Black church almost across the street.
Yes,
you
sir.
have the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
You took me to a spot where the Hells Angels were pretty much like neck and neck
Mm-hmm.
to the mosque where you first heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad
Yes, sir.
speak.
Yes,
And
sir.
that to me speaks to the complexity of Long Beach.
Yes, sir.
I had like 6 or 7 family members, cousins, that was part of the Nation of Islam. And they used to bring us here, and I even was brought here on 2 different occasions when Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking over the intercom. And it was always a positive situation for me because the brothers was always pushing economics, unity, the uplifting of our race. Started right here. This is a real sacred land right here for those that been here all their life. You know, everybody know about this temple right here, masjid right here. When we were small, we used to come get our mini bikes fixed right here. This part wasn't part of the masjid. It was owned by some Hells Angels, biker guys. The most peaceful, respectful people ever. They used to fix our mini bikes, help us, show us how to heal our dogs when we fight them and all that. But right here, yep, right here, the motorcycle club guy from Hells Angels owned this part of it.
What's going on? Why is there a Hells Angels bike shop and a mosque? Like,
Well, I
what was
believe
it like to grow up in that type
excuse
of
me.
setting?
I believe right there on Orange and Lecoy. I believe they owned the bottom half of it. Maybe they was there first. And like I say, it was a white motorcycle people down there. They was friendly people, but they was Hells Angels. They owned the bottom half that I showed you right there.
And how did you, as a kid, you went there to do what? What were y'all doing?
Well, everybody know to go there. They'll fix your mini bike. They help if you been fighting dogs. They'll show you how to heal the wounds. And basically, they was friendly people and respectful people, which they probably had to, sharing the mosque right there in the beginning.
So you have, so you and your friends, you have mini bikes,
Mhm.
and y'all take them over to the Hells Angels,
At
and
the
the
bottom,
Hells Angels
yeah.
help y'all fix them up.
Right, right.
And y'all get into trouble fighting dogs.
Right.
And when dogs get injured, you
Right.
take them over to the Hells Angels, and
right. And then right across the street was my auntie, Jackie Collins. And then the house right in front of us, the Miss Mercantile houses. So they all, black folks was right in their face 24/7. 24/7, you know. But
So-
they was respectful people though. Mhm.
So the Nation of Islam is present in Long Beach.
Oh, absolutely.
Black Church, Nation of Islam, Hells
Absolutely.
Angels.
Absolutely.
Tell me about what was your early experiences at the mosque?
Well, it was different from church because you sit separate, but everything was like really serious and organized. Everybody was sharp dressed and just sending another message. And like you mentioned before, I had the privilege of hearing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad twice. My cousins took me there through the intercom.
Really?
Yes, sir. So I believe that mosque is correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there, number 22, and that's 22 in the world that was built. And they were self-sufficient, selling bean pies, selling papers, stand up for our rights. So they always represented a strong backbone right there for us to see as black kids.
See, I think that's really important for people to hear, because when you think of the Nation of Islam, when you think of being able to hear the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak, you would think of Harlem, you think Chicago.
Right.
Nobody would think that's what
Right.
was happening in Long Beach.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, Long Beach always, East Long Beach always was a militant, progressive black people that was standing up for their rights, because a lot of the issues was police brutality and racism and being redlined. And like I said, so many of our people migrated there. It was very strong. Very strong people migrated to Long Beach, not the poorest of the poor. People with money, people with business senses, people that was religious, all migrated so they get better jobs, because the Long Beach shipyard and I believe McDonnell Douglas building planes was always there. Opportunity.
So, you know, the mosque is not too far from Signal Hill.
Yes, sir.
Now, I believe is 1981
Mhm.
where Ron Settles is killed after
yeah.
being taken to jail in
Yeah.
Signal Hill.
Mhm.
You are a part of those protests.
Oh, yes, sir.
Take us there. Paint that
Oh
picture,
man,
man.
we made 60 Minutes. Those that was involved know who they are. We was right there representing, throwing cocktail. I'm not proud of it, not promoting it, but we was throwing bottles, rocks, cocktails, and maybe a few shots. But it was
Because we're talking about a young man who was a college athlete.
right,
He's on Signal Hill. They
right,
arrest him. They
yes.
beat him. He ends up lynched.
right. Ron Settles, and he was from Carson. And we just was fed up at that time, and people from all over came there to King Park, and we was right there in the middle of it. We protested, walked up to Signal Hill, and we was a nuisance.
Because it was you growing up on the east side was no mistake. And what I
Right.
mean by that is Long Beach there were covenants and restrictions that restricted Black people to a certain part of the city.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
And that's what was going on.
Yeah. Everywhere they say South Central, Long Beach, South Central, LA, Watts, you know that's where the Black folks is. That's coded words for them as Negroes. And then anything with Martin Luther King, them was Black folks. So yes.
Even before Ron Settles in 81, how would the Signal Hill police speak to you?
Oh, very rude, threatening. Don't let the sun set on you. What you niggas doing up here? You know,
They say that to children.
to children. You know, go back down the hill. You know what I'm saying? So we used to like to sneak up the hill, Cherry Hill, and ride our bikes and skateboards down the hill and stuff. But we always had to be watchful for the Signal Hill police. Now, mamas and them used to beg us not to go up there. It's not like today. White folks wasn't friendly up there in Signal Hill.
Right, right. So I want to talk about Long Beach gangs. People think about Long Beach. A lot of times they'll think about gangs, but they're basically thinking about the Crips.
Mhm.
I want to go before the Crips.
Right.
What were those gangs when you were growing up in the late 60s, early 70s? What were the gangs in Long Beach?
Oh, yeah, before the Crips, we had a long history of gangs. Everything, Anaheim was popping. So you had the Anaheim Boys, the Gladiators, the Black Lords, the Ace Deuce, Artistics, King Park Boys, so on and on and on. So it was enriched with those people, youth, that was standing up and representing their energy in a gangster way. Yeah.
So what's the difference between a gang member in that period versus now? What were they doing back then?
I think because we had a strong presence of Black power and influence of the nation and all that, the Black Lords and Ace Deuce, they was really protecting the neighborhood. Anybody that don't belong in Long Beach, they there to protect. They always was connected spiritually and culturally. They had that going before the Crips. They was already heavily rooted in Blackness.
So they're heavily rooted in Blackness, but they're also, you mentioned, I think you said to our producers, there's a difference between being a hustler and banging.
Right.
And I'm assuming Black Lords, Ace Deuces, they're hustlers, but what does that mean? What does it mean to be a hustler versus to
being
bang?
a hustler, well, you making money by hook, crook, whatever. You know, you do illicit things to make money, but also they was able to balance patrolling the neighborhood. Banging is just somebody that's just out there seeking revenge. It's not culturally rooted. It's not culturally rooted. You just worried about the gang. You know, so it's a big difference. Big difference. And really, Long Beach really was no real rivals out there because everybody was kin, and we just had a different mindset because of the dynamics being in East Long Beach on those that came before us. The nation, the Black Panthers had a heavy influence on our area. So we didn't just grow up killing each other. You know, our uncles, our older cousins, they instilled that in. You don't kill another brother.
So you're saying that with the Black Lords, Ace Deuces, Artistics, there weren't these wars where they're killing each other.
No, it wasn't. And the Gator boys, I can't forget about the Gator family. That was a big family, a gangster family that was well respected. So no, it wasn't nowhere near out of control. Not even maybe 1%. But fights, now you're gonna get a good fight. You're gonna get a good fight, but we wasn't raised to kill each other like that because we were so up against it with the authorities and the landlords and just being black in that area, being redlined. We had to always stick together. And that's one thing, was one of our strengths on East Long Beach. It don't matter what you claim and where you're from, we always band together, even in prison, which we taught all the rest of the Long Beach, how to do it like us, because we did it well. But we was trained by strong black women and black men.
I get that. What I find fascinating is that now, if politicians, they'll talk about what are the vices that are wrong with society, and they'll say, well, the gangs are so prevalent. But when I hear you talk, and the more you talk about Long Beach, what I'm noticing is that you all had gangs. You had the Hells Angels, but there was also balance.
Right.
There were those black businesses.
Right.
There were those black churches.
Right.
And talk to me about how when you're sitting in prison, because you go in really just before the crack cocaine epidemic.
Right.
Were you surprised when you started hearing about what was happening in Long Beach?
100%. How cocaine just devastated the morals and the line we was pushing from babies all the way up, devastated the whole neighborhood. For the first time, you hearing about so much immoral things that was going on because of the drug. At times, we wasn't even believing it until we start seeing the peoples that was coming in. But also, it brought a lot of money to a lot of people. You didn't really have to hustle hard. Now you just have a crack, and it made it real easy, but you're selling it to your own people. Because like I said, we always been known as a strong people on that East Long Beach because of the many dynamics, the many different layers we had in the community. And I can say that cocaine penetrated heavily that shield that we had.
So I want to get to what was happening in the prison system and related to what was happening on the streets. Now, for those people who kind of don't really understand about gangs, or particularly about Long Beach gangs, the Crips are in Long Beach, but sort of as an umbrella. There are various sets of the Crips. So how does that work exactly? What are the different sets?
Well, in Long Beach, it didn't matter what set you was from. East Long Beach came first. Then you had different chapters,
Until later, when the war started.
Right, until the war started. Rolling 20s was Rolling 20 Hustlers.
So the Rolling 20s start out as Rolling 20 Hustlers.
Yeah, they just
and then they joined the Crips later?
Yeah, they put the Crip on it, which they chose to do it, but they didn't have to, because when Insane broke, it was just a tsunami. It was just a youth movement that everybody started claiming. Whether you was in jail, on the streets, Camp YA, it was a new movement, and it meant power, And that's when everything went towards the gun.
So let's talk about when that movement grew. Now, you were in the 8th grade. It's 1977. A few of your friends, some of them even family members, they start Insane.
Yeah, neighborhood people that we looked up to, youngsters, they started that movement, Insane.
And now, an interesting caveat, you had me listen. We're talking, and you're like, there was this group called, I asked you, how is it that they came up with the name Insane?
Right.
And you were like, well, there was this song, like Cameo.
Yeah.
And
Bandit, Boogaloo Bandit liked that song. In fact, I don't have to tell you, we're going to bring him on, and he's going to explain that himself.
You're going to be able to bring in Boogaloo Bandit here.
Boogaloo Bandit. That was he was known by, Boogaloo Bandit.
And he liked to dance, right?
Yes. Yeah, oh
And
yeah.
he was
a
like
good
kind of
dancer.
like pop locking.
Yeah, pop locking, Boogaloo. Must respect the big earners, Boogaloo Bandit, and all those Lowdown and all those people
Mm-hmm.
that was there from the beginning.
So here's my question, Roc. Here you are in the 8th grade. Most 8th graders, I think, 12, 13.
8th, 9th grade, yeah.
So why does an 8th grader from a 2-parent home like you, right? Your parents are spending time with you. They're church going. Your parents go from apartment owners to homeowners. So like, that American dream,
Right.
church going folks. Your pops, he was a Freemason. You're a rising athlete, team captain.
Right.
What made you don't seem to fit the sort of statistic of someone who becomes a Crip. What made you do that?
I was like that, what's that white show? The Beaver. I was just eager just to learn so much coming from a controlled setting because we had rules. I grew up with rules, parents, authority over me. We wasn't running the household. We was obeying and doing what moms and dad and uncles do. So I just wanted to see what this was all about. And Bandit, he used to live right in back of my uncle's house on 20th and Olive, right in the back. And so I used to go back there. He had a plastic break listen. He said, man, we finna start something new. Up to that point, I'm just hanging out with my cousin. He was a rolling 20 hustler. And I said, yeah, we're gonna start a new movement. And he said, yeah, it's gonna be insane. You got to start lifting weights. And so I'm impressionable, and I'm like, let's go. Because being part of Potty Pop Warner, we already physical anyway. That aspect was nothing. You had to be tough and rough to be a Rough Rider, Vidar, Patriot Wildcat. So the physicality was nothing. Plus, just to go to the park, you're gonna get in some fights. So that part was easy. So we made a kinship and a brotherhood up under that name, which it was still continuing the legacy. See, everything continues the legacy because the soil stays the same. And that's all we was doing.
Did your parents know that you were insane, or were you hiding it from them?
Oh yeah, when I turned insane, my daddy looked my cousin Robert Collins in the face. You got my boy out on the streets. Don't come home without him. If he don't come home, you don't come home. And my cousin Robert Collins took that very seriously. So I wanted to be something different anyway, because it's like he was a father figure while I'm on the streets. So I leaned towards the other family that went insane way.
Paint that picture for us. What was the dress code then for the Insane Crips? Because right now we have this picture of how Crips dress.
Right.
But what was it like when you all first started the gang?
Brims, golf hats, hair nets, overalls, khakis, Dickies, Pendletons, Chucks.
What's a Pendleton?
That's a certain thick jacket that white people, lumbers.
Oh,
jacket.
okay.
Romeos, Stacey Adams, Canes, Crip coats.
A Crip coat?
Yeah, everything
what
to the
is
left.
a Crip coat?
It just was a certain coat, blue, little fur around it,
Okay.
they made their own trademark. It became trademark, like I say, trench coats, overalls, suspenders, corduroys, wallabies, and on and on.
And were there
And of course 501s, and everything have to be creased.
so the creases started even then?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Heavily creased. And as a matter of fact, the best ironer that we had from the set was legendary Big Chicken Swoop.
Chicken Swoop.
Yeah, if our stuff wasn't ironed right, he'd say, man, come to the house, let me iron your shit, man. Yeah.
Wait, so you telling me you all would be at home starching your pants, making sure they had the right crease?
Absolutely.
That was not done at the dry cleaners.
That's part of the culture. And listening to Parliament. We just love Parliament, and Cameo, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that became the theme song, the song Insane. Became a theme song because Boogaloo Bandit and a few people liked it. Yeah.
So what were the other perks of being a Crip back then? Like, were you celebrated in school? Was it girls? What was it?
I think we felt that we was losing that threat to the other hoods because a lot of homies felt there's too much hustling, somebody gonna have to do the fighting and shooting. So we was making trouble everywhere we go to let them know we will still make noise, even though the other family members, they'll make noise, but they was more subtle with it, more smooth with it. And same was up in your face, and it was a movement. It was a movement. They'll let you know you're not finna come around here and do nothing.
March 1982. You get a life sentence. Was it a life sentence?
Well, it was like a life sentence. It was 31 to life.
31 to life.
And they made me do 39 years, 7 months.
And you were in level 4.
I was in level 4,
which
yes,
is
sir.
the highest level of security in a prison.
At 18. No, 19. At 19.
19.
Right.
Now, inside you meet gang members from Long Beach.
Yes.
But some of these members help you to elevate your thinking. One person that sticks out in my mind that you talk about a lot was Saladin.
Yes.
Tell me about this brother. What made him different?
Oh, well, Saladin was original Anaheim boy. He was our elder. He was a supreme commander up under the Muslims. They later joined forces with, they call it Gaidi Jama, that means a black guerrilla family, to fight the police and white people. And
that started in prison, the BGM?
Yeah, the BGF. And unfortunately...
BGF.
Black Guerrilla Family.
Got it.
And unfortunately, Saladin had killed the police in Chino with a hammer. He was just no nonsense. So when we landed in Folsom, first thing he did was lace our boots. Had us studying, exercising. I'm very grateful to that brother. He made a young guy come from East Long Beach stay how it was supposed to be. You're going to man up. This is the training you got to go through. This is the do's and the don'ts. And it was beautiful. I learned so much from that brother. And unfortunately, he passed away like 9 months ago. We lost a great one. Mm-hmm. His real name is Freddie Tidmore. He was raised with my uncle, Larry Tucson, and the Tucson family. They all went to school. They all went to school together. So that even made it better for me, him knowing him going to school with my
We
cousin.
got a clip of Saladin, number 7. Mm-hmm. This is a photo you sent me. Mm-hmm. Now, even though you have been exposed to the Black Panthers as a child, it really wasn't until you go to prison,
right,
and folks like Saladin
right.
are pushing, that you should be literate, that you need to educate yourself, read. Right. That's when you start down that journey.
Yes, sir. Because make no qualms about it, people was getting killed every other day in Folsom Prison. It was real serious. And so being illiterate and ignorant wasn't the deal. So yes, I started my way to extensively reading on our culture, reading what our ancestors went through, and I just came engulfed with wanting to know about where our families and ancestors came from and those before us. And that just gave us strength and motivation to conquer any thing that comes our way negatively. So it helped us adjust and to deal with it physically and mentally, and I'm very grateful for those giants and those elders that was giving us the secrets and survival skills, because it wasn't all about getting back to the streets. It was about making another day in prison. It was a 27-year war.
27-year war.
Yes.
When you say war, who are you warring against?
Armed Brothers, Mexican Mafia, police, and but nobody on our side. Only person that was on your side is your bunkie. And you better hope that he wasn't no coward or wasn't flossing, So you just gravitated towards soldiers, that was standing up and was teaching you how to survive and to deal with it.
So with all of those forces, the prison guards, Aryan Brothers, mm-hmm. Mexican Mafia, mm-hmm. it had to be hard being from Long Beach because you're already kind of a smaller group, mm-hmm. and there are divisions between the sets.
Right.
what do you do in that situation? Did you try and do anything about that?
Well, first, our ignorance set in until the old heads, laid the law down. Mathematically, it just didn't make sense to be hating on anybody from Long Beach when you got to go to this yard and protect him, and he have to protect you. So we start evaluating and grading people on just their own soldierism. That means how you stand on your own 1 and 2s. See, that's highly respected when you able to stand on your own 1 and 2s. You don't need no crowd. Them the brothers you want to link up with. So that's the mindset and the mentality I had my whole state. I respect any soldier, no matter where he's from, because he's going through the same thing the next soldier going through. He's going through the holes. He's standing up because everybody wasn't standing up. Some people folded, but the ones that didn't fold saved a lot of lives. Saved a lot of lives by standing up. Yes.
And you were known as someone who
Right, standing up.
was standing up.
Right.
And how do you balance being conscious versus being somebody who's seen as, when it comes down to it, I'm standing up? Because it also means that you could get more time at it.
Right.
How did you balance all those
Well,
things?
how you balance is you want to see another day. So you learn how to write better because this might be the last letter. So you better learn how to read and write if the letter even was going out. A lot of times our letter wouldn't even make it to the streets, So you better get up and exercise. It might save your life because you might save another brother's life. Better get up in the morning. It might save a life. So everything we was doing, we was saving ourselves and the people around us. That's how serious it was and serious the brothers was. It wasn't, even though I was 19, I aged really quickly. And also being from a family like I was from and being from the church and being in a potty pop Warner, we always had to coach somebody. We take orders good, carry the mission out, learning football plays and learning how to interact, how to communicate. That's all about sports. So it was really easy for me.
There's a community activist, Blue.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know him as Henderson Blue.
Yes.
He does some amazing stuff in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things he's talked about has been reaching out to you when you were on the inside to have an impact on the streets on the outside.
Right.
How did you develop that sort of relationship in the prison system and out?
Well, first I'd like to give much respect to Paula Earl. That's Sean Earl's sister. She was the co-founder with me with something called Inside Out Unity.
Inside Out Unity.
Yes, Inside. We was organizing because we have coming in conscience and starting to understand that we have to learn the system. And that's where one thing I learned from Big Tookie when I was in San Quentin.
Oh, you met Big Tookie?
Oh, yeah. He's a teacher class on the yard.
Was it like an official class for the prison system?
Oh, he created his own home class. When he go to the yard, only thing was separating us on that yard was they was on the other side of the fence. It was shoe overflow. So many people was in lockup.
And Tookie had a class.
Yeah, oh yeah. He pushed mathematics, history, everything, poetry. But one thing I learned that I didn't know until I got older, Tookie always pressed on, we have to learn how to not break it, but to bend things to our will. So as I got
but to bend things
to our will, because you're not going to break it. We don't have enough guns to take it down. That means he was talking about learn how to read and read good. Learn how to count and count good. Go learn the whole system. Go to school and learn every word in the dictionary. Then use that as a weapon. And I learned what he was saying to us. He's always end up his sessions like that. We're gonna have to bend this thing to our will. But yes, he was a smart brother.
I want to close out with this final question. And that is, you've been out of prison 17, 18 months now. You're off for parole. I've seen you out in the community registering folks to vote who've never voted. We just ran in to Sam. Right? And Sam, he's like, for the first time, he voted last year.
Right.
And you made that sort of impact, and you created that sort of inroads. You had people from different sets coming to venues to register to vote. And a lot of people were afraid that shootings were going to happen after that went down. Why did you have faith that you could do that?
Well, first of all, I walk by faith and not fear. But second of all, a lot of the people that I was talking to was level 4 individuals. They was brotherhood from prison yards that was standing up against the war in there, and as we mature as men. So a lot of them people we had relationships with on the battlefield, staying alive, and just interacting, pushing Long Beach, you know. So that's what that was all about. And it was beautiful to see brothers come register to vote in areas they normally wouldn't, to try to make a difference like that. In fact, you registered me. And that's one of my proudest moments, since I was out, to do something like that, you know. So, yeah, I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
You're welcome. You know, before we close, I want to say this to you or ask you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
also I also got to thank Lottie too. I seen the side of Lottie that was so beautiful on wanting to push peace and wanting to put our monies together and start buying up things. So I have to give a big shout out to Lottie, Sean Earl, Sean Alls, DV, Fred Dog, Tiny Papa, and all the who's
Tiny
who.
Papa, that's my
Right,
brother, yeah.
Freddie, Ant Loke. Them brothers right there are always be in my heart, and respect level very high for them.
A lot of times when it comes to gangs and gangsters, people want to glamorize it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you and I have been sitting here. We're not just talking about Crips or prison politics.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually talking about the impact of things like the civil rights movement,
Right.
and the environment going on in the community,
Right.
that grew and developed, and how it evolved and how it perhaps de-evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important for you to tell people about what Black Long Beach was? Why does that even matter, what it was? It's not that now.
Right.
Why does it matter?
We have to get this in the archives so we can at least show why we used to love this area so much, because they're erasing everything we have done for that city. We was the main everything in that city. They are systematically erasing all the struggle, blood, sweat, and tears that went into making the East Side and Long Beach. You know, it's real important to see it through their lens, and also try to capture a space. We doing this to hope that will influence and put a spark on people. Like, yeah, let's go get us a building, you know, and do some of the things that we know worked. But most of all, we need buildings, and for us to come together to get buildings so we can breathe. We can't even breathe in Long Beach because we don't have our own space to be us. So this what inspires me to want to do this and do the things I do to try to motivate the next brother entity to network. There's nothing wrong with networking with the next Black entity. See, we got to defy the odds. And like I tell you, coming full circle, it's about redefining the mission, redefining our manhood, redefining what it is to be a man, to be a father, an uncle. And one thing for sure, we need to leave something behind, which is, I think Cube and them said as well, generational wealth. We got 0.1% of generation. I mean, Black people not working together, individually and collectively.
I want you, in your own words, to tell folks what they can expect from this series. But you always talk about starting at the beginning of the book,
yes,
and not in the middle.
Yes,
so
sir.
What can folks expect from this series of Long Beach Unfiltered?
Long Beach Unfiltered, first of all, thank you for bringing me on board as Roc Unity Foundation. But we're going to go from the beginning all the way to present day, you know, starting with our old heads, pay homage, and see things through their lens on how it was and how it should be and how it can be, all the way to the present day. That's really important.
Because these are voices that really haven't been heard yet.
Right.
And that's why I appreciate you, because you know who the people are. You got there on your phone, you can call.
I could call them. And like you said so eloquently, it seems to in the city, people always start in the middle of the book. So we're going to go all the way to the beginning, the Anaheim boys. And if you one of them, you 70-something years old. We have to learn the knowledge, their struggle, and their knowledge to link with the other knowledge and struggle. So at the end of this here, we should have a nice committee, man, of brothers and sisters ready to put their resources together and start off with one building. Each ride started with one brick. I was told out South Africa. Somebody got tired of it. Somebody threw a brick. Then another brick was thrown. So this is the mentality and the concept. We're not shucking and jiving. None of that. We're not trying to be glorified the wrong way. We don't have no egos here. For the love of our people, for the love of our women and children. And that's one thing that used to bother me during time. If everybody in jail, who's going to protect the women and children?
Right.
Soldier kills soldier.
Right.
So as you passage through manhood, my passage through manhood, I've been wanting to set things right in my spirit and my time on earth.
Again, I want to thank you, Roc, for being on the show today. But what I really want to thank you for is your willingness to bring other voices in so we can make sure that we tell a complete story. Mm-hmm. So if you have friends, you have family who know about the original Long Beach, if Roc reaches out to you, be sure that you get in touch, because we want to make sure that the record is set straight and that everyone is included that can tell us something that can benefit the community. I'm Franklin, Long Beach Unfiltered. My man Roc is here, and we're going to catch y'all later. Peace.